What's up, guys? It's time for another video, and today's video is going to be a little bit more of a discussion here. I wanted to answer a question that I've been getting a lot over the last few years, especially as I've been more candid about my transition in Brassman reptiles to focusing on Amazon tree boas. The question is, why Amazons? Out of all the tree boas, out of all the other species of reptiles, why have you decided to pivot your business over to Amazon tree boas? So I'm going to go over a few of the main reasons that made me decide that this was the switch that I needed to make. First things first, even though Amazons are becoming my focal species, I still have a pretty diverse collection. Just a dozen species of colubrids alone. Then, of course, my carpet pythons. Of course, I've got leopard geckos and gargoyle geckos and crested geckos. I still have some ball pythons that'll still stay here because they're just projects that I enjoy and I think are fun. And a bunch of random things that will be popping up here and there that you guys will see in the future. That's first thing. I'm not dumping everything to 100% be on Amazon tree boas, but I'll say easy 80% of my collection is going to be focused on Amazons. I think in all my years working in the reptile industry, I've seen time and time again folks go from, having a really diverse collection and hyper focused on something like ball pythons, especially in the late 90s, early 2000s, which made sense because that's when everything was at its peak. And then people kind of fizzled out and started going back to the things that they enjoyed. I've really fallen in love with Amazon tree boas, and it's hard for me to pinpoint another species that has come close in bringing me that amount of joy. I would say the rival close second would be stuff like the carpet pythons. You can see one of my albino girls behind me there. And then would go into colubrids, and then just the erroneous things that I just think are cool. Stuff like rough scale pythons and Bismarck ring pythons and stuff like that. Thinking all the way back to maybe I don't even know how many years ago now. I've referenced it a few times, 15, 16, maybe even 17 years ago when I had my first group of Amazon tree boas. It was a pair of gardens and then a pair of multicolored animals. And I didn't really know what I was doing. Arboreal boa species were very, very new to me. I was breeding the heck out of colubrids and ball pythons and geckos and bearded dragons and stuff like that. And I thought that the Amazon tree boas were cool, but they were definitely out of my grasp at the time. Fast forward to maybe now going on 7 or so years ago, getting my first Amazon before starting to work at Nerd. It was my first time with a captive bred animal that was very tractable, very easy to manage, and I fell in love with it. And I was like, okay, this is really different. And as I've referenced before, that's kind of when I got the initial bite of the bug, so to speak, that I was like, man, Amazons are really cool. I started doing more research and was like, whoa, there's so much more to Amazon tree boas than what I remember from when I was in my teens. Okay, so fast forward again to when I got Carnage. So getting Carnage was a really big pivotal point. So I had amassed a decent collection of Amazons at the time, but when I got the call about Carnage, it was really the first time I had a chance to get something that was really just out of this world. And was so happy to get him, so happy to plug him in. And of course, this is Mischief, the Carnage offspring from 2023, who really would like to take a chomp out of my thumb. This was an absolutely special and spectacular animal that I was able to get my hands on. And then to be able to produce some babies from him really just kind of set things in stone. I was already kind of dialed into the Amazons and what that meant for me and Brassman reptiles. But this was definitely like the key cornerstone production animal to really make that change and really just go all in and say, you know what, I think it's time that we make the decision. Another big factor in all of this, honestly, was just coming from Nerd. I'm aware that it definitely came with a lot of extra attention. And while I'm thankful for that, it was never anything that I really banked on. Nerd for me was a space that, I really grew up with Kevin. I met him very early in my teens and learned a lot about genetics and so many different species by going up and bothering him and the staff for so many years. So that for me really just felt like an extension of home. So upon my departure, realizing that there was inevitably going to be some people that followed me past that, and I was grateful for that, and that definitely helped give me a little bit of a boost when I did end up here in North Carolina. Of course, people are following me to see what I was working with. People knew that I had a really diverse collection, but then to amass a bit of the following that I have, to suddenly be like, hey guys, Amazon tree boas. People were like, wait, what are we talking about? Why that snake? There can be so many different things. Why the Amazon tree boa? How about an emerald tree boa? All in all, I was like, I have a really, really unique opportunity because of some of that extra attention to really highlight a species that for many years has just kind of been shrouded in a lot of unknowns. People also just being like, man, that's just another bitey tree snake. There's no real value in it. Going back to, things like the carnage litter and just seeing as many of these animals as I had been seeing as I was building my collection, I was like, there's so much more to the Amazon tree boa, and so many elements of the species have really just captured my attention, from being a very active tree boa in comparison to a lot of the other corallus, to of course the colors and patterns and some of the genetics involved with the species. There's so much to learn still about the species, and they've definitely gotten the write-off from a lot of folks until you get something that really catches their attention, i.e. carnage, and of course the carnage offspring. So I really wanted to take advantage of what I had built and really just kind of tapped into as I started this journey in breeding and really deciding to make this an effort. Now, I will say that making this change did not come without its challenges. Of course, the ball python market is not what it used to be. So figuring out a way to move a decent amount of animals. I had already been downsizing ball pythons, but now to really make a concerted effort to be like, okay, it's time for these guys to get reduced. It's time to reduce on carpet pythons. It's time to reduce certain species, even eliminate certain species from the collection altogether in order to make room. Shout out to my friends over at Black Box Cages. Getting my hands on the first cages for them, which are actually just outside this wall, was a huge help, and really just helped take things to the next level, get me even more excited, and really just kind of expand and dive that much deeper into working with the species. One of the other big things with the Amazons as far as the business is concerned is actually looking at overhead and starting to look at how the ball python market was moving, as ball pythons really were a large part of my collection, and realizing that, I didn't want to continuously have to invest thousands and thousands of dollars to stay on top of the next project and do all this stuff. I love ball pythons and I've really enjoyed working with them for the last almost 20 years, but it wasn't where my heart was really at. I definitely felt that really shifting over into Amazon tree boas and figuring out ways that we could elevate that level of husbandry while also keeping costs low. And really, there were a lot more challenges to working with an arboreal species than some of these other more common species, ball pythons especially included. The other factors, of course, were cost. Now, yes, I can certainly keep a lot more ball pythons in a space than I can keep Amazon tree boas. Sure. But again, it kind of goes to, for point of reference, if I'm starting out a ball python on hopper mice, let's say that hopper mouse costs me $1 a piece, right? And I've got to buy, we'll keep even numbers. So let's say I have to buy 100. So $100 a week to feed all the baby ball pythons right off the rip, right? Then, of course, I want to get them 5, 6, 7, 8 meals in before I offer them for sale. So you figure if I'm doing that for everything, let's say that's about $800 right off the rip before everything's ready to be able to be sold and offered. So when you really start to look at the numbers, you start to realize that it does add up really, really quickly when you're working with larger snakes. And not that that's a problem, not that that's a major downfall, especially if you're just keeping them as pets, but as a breeder, things really need to make sense in order to be able to really make it make sense as a business. Versus something like an Amazon tree boa that even as an adult at its most expensive point is going to be really eating adult mice, maybe a weaned rat or a small rat, but they're really on average not going to eat much more than that, which means your cost is significantly lower. Of course, then we start looking at the babies, and when we realize these little guys are really just eating pinkies and fuzzies, of course our cost is much, much cheaper. For point of reference, if you order a certain amount, you can get pinky mice as cheap as 20 cents a piece, and fuzzies not that far behind. So that does lower the initial cost. And same thing, to get these guys started, of course I'm talking with my hands, so this little baby is like, what the heck is going on? But if we're talking about another even 8 to 10 meals or more to get these babies well started before we offer them for sale, we're really talking about just a couple of dollars, maybe $3 before they're able to be brought to market, versus the ball pythons where it's almost 3 times that. So again, your bottom line and your profits are a little little bit better. So of course, it's not all about money. And in all actuality, if I could keep every Amazon that I produced, I probably would, because I really just enjoy the crap out of them. But it is something, as a business owner, I do have to pay attention to my bottom line and what that looks like. That's also one of the reasons why I designed the custom racks, because looking at the cost of setting up almost 100 cages and what that looks like with heat panels and all those other things, realized really quickly that that was going to add up quite a bit. So it was like, how do I take the best possible approach to utilizing the rack system setup while still being able to give the animals what they need? If you go back and check out my Amazon tree boa video where I referenced kind of designing those racks and really dialing in the species needs, there's the whole reason and concept as to why I did what I did. Fundamentally, what doesn't change through all of this is the fact that I simply just love the Amazon tree boas. It's crazy because a species that I wasn't prepared for as a teen has now really taken over my adult life, and I'm so stoked for what's about to come. And of course, I'm not just talking about here at Brassman Reptiles. Yes, of course, I'm very excited for the projects that I have and what I want to be able to move forward with, but I'm also talking about some of the other amazing ATB breeders here in the States. Of course, you have legends like Keith McPeak, Rory Gresco, Dayton Croydon, so many others. I'm really just excited to be a part of those keepers that really are excited about the species that hasn't gotten the attention that it truly deserves for a long time. And I'm hoping to help use my voice to help push that attention more to the forefront so that people can really see the beauty of Amazon tree boas and just enjoy them as much as I do. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. If you liked this video, hit that subscription button. Make sure you like this video and leave a comment down below. From Citrus and I, we'll see you on the next one.